If you owe child support or back child support, then which is called arrears, then they can suspend your license. And I'm not talking your driver's license. They can suspend the general license or any other license, including the fishing license. So, what are your options for the license suspension for the state of New York? I am not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but I'm going to walk you through the procedures that I would take in order to restore your license. Let's take, for instance, your driver's license. Yes, they can suspend both your driver's license, your professional license, or a wildlife license. But let's look at the driver's license because most people, drive. So it says that you are eligible for restricted driver's license. In New York, it's called the restricted driver's license because they cannot take your license. They do what is called a restricted driver's license. And it goes on to say that it's a $75 fee. That again, the $75 has nothing to do with child support. It's just called the licensing fee in order to have a restricted license. And I'll explain what the difference is. The process for 1099 independent workers, by the way, 1099 workers is not included in child support. I have a few videos that explain that, but this process that I'm going to walk you through it also deals with the 1099 status, which means you can get your driver's license back. The reasons why I can walk you through the process of restoring your license, whether fishing license or your professional license, it's because of jurisdiction. You have to study jurisdiction. I have a video called Jurisdiction. Here it is. Jurisdiction is the cornerstone of our judicial process, whether Article 1 or Article 3. And without jurisdiction, no one can decide your case. The reason is child support is unconstitutional because they're going to take your professional license. And I'm going to walk you through that. But child support is unconstitutional because you have a right to travel. If you haven't seen the video called "You Cannot Suspend Your License in New Jersey," it's a due process violation. If you haven't seen it, I want you to check it out. The reason why you cannot suspend your driver's license in New Jersey, it's as a result of a lawsuit which is called Cavendish versus Martinez. Cavendish versus Martinez. The judge wrote, Mary Jacobson, she wrote a 187-page opinion on the topic, which means she did a thorough investigation, and it results in such that Jersey cannot suspend your driver's license. The conclusion of Mary Jacobson's letter, she encouraged all the state legislator, which is the Attorney General, has to produce a letter to all the courts that you cannot suspend the driver's license nationwide in New Jersey. Not nationwide, but in New Jersey, because it is unconstitutional. So if someone says that child support is unconstitutional as a result of taking your driver's license, please comment. Let's review the child support enforcement. The child support has 4 programs regards to enforcement. So one of them is your driver's license or any professional license. Number 2, your tax return, the interception of your federal and state tax return. Number 3, the lottery winnings, any winnings as a result of child support, they can confiscate that. And then fourth is your passport. It's called seizing your passport. Hello, my name is Chris, and in this session I will give you the procedures for getting your license back as a result of child support. Also, I am not an attorney, or I don't play one on TV, but I'm going to give you the instructions for getting back your driver's license. If you have any comments or concerns, please feel free to reach us at chrish289@protonmail.com. Our video that we produce has case laws, so we do extensive research, and as a result, we're asking for a gift of either $25 or any amount via PayPal or Cash App. Again, donate to our channel. Also, please subscribe to our channel. We have an audio version of our video. You could reach us at Spotify, Apple Podcast, or audible.com. The history of child support. Child support got started in 1975, which is called Title 4D. Let's consider the maxim of law. It goes like this. Ignorance of the law excuses not. Ignorance of the law excuses no one. So let me put it to you this way. It says that it presumed that the public needs to know the law, and the defense of ignorance is not tolerated. And the recent decision is called State versus Miller in 2017 out of North Carolina. And that includes judges and attorneys. Judges and attorneys, it's the practice of law, so therefore they know the law. Considering your license, it's an out-of-court process. In other words, it does not deal with the family court. It's just a contract. And it falls under the executive branch, which is Article 1 versus Article 3. So Article 1 jurisdiction is not part of the Judiciary Committee, which is Article 3. And Justice Steve Marshall says, and he wrote in his decision, that these courts is not a constitutional courts, and therefore it's subject to review. And the case law is Northern Pipeline Construction versus Marathon Pipe. Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin wrote, when it comes to your license, you have to be brave. In other words, you just have to be brave. And it says, if you give up essential liberty to obtain temporary safety, then you don't deserve liberty at all. So, in order to the process of the driver's license, in order to take back your driver's license, you have to be brave. The 5 Supreme Court cases that you should already know, and again, you should know this. This will help you in order to get back your driver's license, or any license, or fishing license.
A citizen's right to use public highways, including city and town streets, for travel and transporting goods, is a fundamental, inherent right that cannot be taken away. This right is not merely a privilege granted by the government, but is a basic freedom that every individual possesses. It ensures that people can freely move from place to place and conduct their personal and business activities without undue restriction. Any attempt to remove or limit this right would undermine the basic principles of freedom of movement and commerce that are essential to a functioning society. Highways serve as essential avenues for travel and commerce, and every person has the inherent right to access them without unnecessary restrictions.
Let's begin by introducing evidence. In other words, if you're in a suspended license, you need to produce evidence, and we're going to start the process. 28 U.S. Code 1654. So you can start this process with or without an attorney. You don't have to, you can go this alone. But you don't have to use an attorney. However, they need to know the rules.
The law doesn't grant him the right to have a lawyer, and it doesn't make it right for the court to force one on him when he clearly doesn't want one. As someone who values personal choice and justice, I find it deeply troubling that the court would impose a lawyer on an accused individual against their will. This goes against the very principles of freedom and autonomy that our legal system is supposed to protect. The case law are State versus Penderville and Moore versus State of Michigan.
Now that we can argue the case ourselves in an Article 1 court, we'll introduce 3 case laws: Abelman versus Booth, and Howlett versus Rose, and Bullock versus U.S. So Chief Justice Marshall that said, if United States ruled on a merit of one case, it's being settled by any other states and they cannot reopen it. So this is the supremacy clause. Child support is a federal program known as Title 4D. So in the provision it says that 45 CFR 302.17, it says inclusion of state statute. It's state statute, not law. And it goes on to say the state plan shall provide a copy of state statute or regulations pursuant to such state statute having the force or effect of law. In other words, they're going to determine the paternity, the establishment of support, and enforcement. Again, it's inclusion of state statute, not law. Here's the plan for New York. All 50 states has a plan, and it's called single and separate agency, which means child support is not concerned with family court. They're a single and separate agency, and to sign the contract with New York State Department of Social Services. So many gentlemen, they disagree on this, but it clearly states that it's a plan, the inclusion of the state plan, and this is the plan, which means child support is a federal program. It's not a state program. It's a federal program. Now that you prepare your document, you have it notarized, you're going to take it down to the clerk. And the federal rules are Federal Rules of Civil Procedures 5D4. Now, the clerk must accept your paperwork, even if it does not conform traditional standards of the court. They must accept your paperwork, and they cannot refuse it. So you can put it on the counter and then walk away. Yes, you can put on the counter and then walk away.
The right of access to the courts is basic to our system of government, and it is well established today that it is one of the fundamental rights protected by the Constitution. I have the right to access the court at any time. This means that legally, a document is considered filed at the moment it is delivered to the clerk, even if it hasn't been officially marked as filed yet. This principle ensures that my ability to engage with the judicial system is not hindered by administrative delays or technicalities. The right to access the courts is a cornerstone of our system of government. It is a fundamental right that is firmly established and protected by the Constitution. This right guarantees that I, along with every citizen, have the ability to seek justice, challenge injustices, and have my voice heard in a court of law. It underscores the importance of an open and accessible judicial system as a key component of a fair and democratic society. The case laws are Biffle versus Morton Rubber Industry and Rilland versus Shapiro. Each state is required to establish its own administrative complaint procedure. This procedure must be defined by the state and designed to provide individuals with the opportunity to request an administrative review. This allows for appropriate actions to be taken if there is evidence of an error or if an action should have been taken but was not. This procedure is applicable not only to residents within the state, but also to individuals from other states who may be affected. This requirement ensures that there is a structured process in place for addressing potential errors and omissions in administrative actions. It provides a means for individuals to have their cases reviewed and rectified if necessary, thereby upholding the principles of fairness and accountability in administrative processes. The relevant case law that underscores this requirement is Bostick v. Department of Revenue, which highlights the importance of having such administrative complaint procedures in place to ensure justice and proper administrative conduct.
If child support take your license, your fishing license, your professional license, it's a due process violation. Because once a license is issued, their continued possession may be essential for the pursuit of livelihood or your happiness, which means if they're going to take your license, you have to be face to face in the room, whether family court or in another room. They have to take your driver's license face to face.
The 14th Amendment. No state shall make or enforce any laws which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. No state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
Continue with the federal rules of evidence. You must have judicial notices. The courts can take judicial notice if it's not subjected to reasonable dispute. And the case law is Federal Rules of Evidence 201 BD. That's 201 BD. The new DOJ letter of 2023, not the old one, because the old one was rescinded, but the new one, the 2023 letter, you can file it into family court cases, and everybody needs to file that into your family court cases. And you can get this at childsupport.newzenler.com. To continue the rules of evidence, you need to be familiar with this case. The Department of Justice filed a brief into the automatic suspension of driver's license, and the case was called Stinney versus Holcomb. Stinney versus Holcomb. It's a class action suit that brought by 4 individuals whose driver's license was suspended because they could not afford fines, fees, cost, and it was in Virginia. You need to be familiarize yourself with that case. So you're going to talk to when your driver's license or your professional license has been suspended. Now, people always overlook this, but states must obey the decisions of the Supreme Court, and they cannot refuse to follow them. The case law is called Coopers versus Aaron, 1958. When you're before a magistrate or a commissioner or the associated judge, they often overlook that. You need to remind them. You need to follow the Supreme Court guidance, the Supreme Court decision, or else you'll be subjected to treason. Yes, treason. There you have it. I walk you through my procedures for the suspension of driver's license due to child support. And contact me via email for your comments or questions. Also, we ask for donation. Yes, we're asking for donation because this extensive research, it requires time, materials, as well as time to review and select the appropriate levels. And we're asking for a $25 gift or a $5 Cash App. Again, we do this video for free. All we're doing for asking for donation. Also, like and subscribe this YouTube channel. Preview the next video on this topic known as child support. In fact, you may actually learn some things.